Now that we've covered which double hump head to choose, straight plug, angle plug, accessory hole, non-accessory hole, we get into the mechanical part of improving the cylinder head so it's going to run 7,000 RPM for 3,000 or 4,000 laps. That's basically step 2. Step 1, choose the right head. Step 2, get it mechanically sound so you don't have to goof around with it for a number of years or a year or two, whatever. So anyway, the guide prep and so on the double hump head isn't that much different than an open chamber head and other heads. Nothing really different about the guides. We generally put either solid bronze guides in when we do our SST or our CNC sportsman porting, or we put guide liners in. Nothing tricky there. Valve job basically the same. We have a different type of seat cutter for the double hump cylinder heads. Cooling holes. Now when you do angle mill, one of these cylinder heads, they do have spark plug cooling holes. Back in the day, they were more for street applications. And if you get into a heavy flat cut, if you're taking them down, let's say 60, 80 thousandths on a flat cut, or 100, 120 on an angle mill, these little holes here need to be plugged with an iron tight plug. So Iron Tight is a company, I think Quickway sells them. There's a tap and a cast iron plug. So we would plug those. You don't need them for a race application. If you don't plug them, it's going to sneak into the head gasket area and you can wind up with a leak. Machining up for screw and studs. The aftermarket 492 service replacement generally came machined for screw and studs. A lot of your cylinder heads will not. So it's a standard machining procedure and the machine shop can handle that. Pulling the studs out and machining them for screw and studs and push rod holes and so on. Spring seats are kind of tricky on these. If you run an 1 1/4 springs, no big deal. You just can't go deeper with the stock spring seat, especially on the exhaust seats or exhaust valve area, exhaust spring seats. They get closer to water sooner. Now, when we do some endurance type applications, guys running roller cams, we need to put a bigger diameter spring on. So the biggest diameter spring you ever want to put on here is about 1.500. So when you cut the spring seat, you put a 60 or a 70 1 1/4 shim on, and then you go down with an 1.5 OD spring cutter. Okay, and that's going to leave a spring seat that has a step on it, so that you can go ahead and put your larger diameter 1.440, 1.47, 1.500 spring on. For a roller application, we use a couple of PSI springs and give us really good pressure and a little bit smaller diameter. You make a big mistake if you try to go 1.625 or 1.560 on these spring seats. You can wind up putting a hole in the cylinder head, which is almost unrepairable in the spring seat. So those are just some of the cautions with this particular head. You got to remember, this particular head was designed for a street car, not a race car. Okay, unlike the Dart Iron Eagles and so on, they're designed for racing applications. These are street heads used on a race car. So subsequently, doing porting work to these, either the undercover porting, SST porting, or CNC sportsman porting, pays huge dividends. You're going to see anywhere from 15 to 50 to 60 horsepower difference when you do the performance improvements to these cylinder heads, and that's what we're going to talk about in our next video.